Jean-Paul, I'll come to you next. And Petrobras is also taking actions as part of the oil and gas climate initiative to really think about emissions and the carbon footprint. Can you talk to us about the milestones that you see on the journey to getting there over the course of the next decade and the next few decades by 2050?
Yes, Saugata. Thank you for the question and for keeping the focus into the global stage as we can do in this exceptional situation here at CERAWeek. I believe everybody at this time got to the unanimous conclusion that this energy transition that we all talk about must be not only fair or just, but also gradual and responsible. The other thing that we probably are consensual about is that there's no such country or source or technology that will take care of that alone by itself. So it's something we will all have to do together. And I stick with the generality of it globally. We have a world of inequalities, a world of differences that we have to consensus around this common objective. And the only way we will do it is by making energy transition comfortable. As much as it is uncomfortable to people, to the consumer, it will not happen. And the opposite of not having a comfortable transition will be to have a traumatic transition. We don't want to be in that game. And that's why our strategy as our state-controlled corporation with shares in the market, but controlled by the Brazilian state, which is a country that was blessed by several natural resources, renewable and non-renewable ones. We can manage ourselves, but we don't want to have just our problems solved. I would say Brazil is in a comfortable situation, but we want humanity to have a comfortable situation. That means that everything we develop as oil companies in transition have to be things that are parallel to what we already do. In our case, the example is upstream with wind energy offshore, for instance. We are an offshore company. Hydrogen with gas, co-processing in our marvelous refineries, which are marvelous machines of processing hydrocarbons. How cannot they be marvelous machines to process bio-oils or vegetable oil? So it's not as difficult as it may look at first sight. For us, at least, it's not. And for whoever it is not visible, we are very keen to help and participate at these debates. We think we can not teach or not patronize anybody, but just contribute to this consensus. And this is a very important opening statement for all of us here. We're not in a fight of this being oil, much oil here and there, and energy transition, acceleration. Whoever can do it faster will do it. Right. Whoever needs to do it because it's in depth with humanity will do it. But we need to be consensual that this has to be done in a responsible way.
And while speaking of going back to the topic of just energy transition, which we just talked about, Jean-Paul, would love to hear your thoughts on what that means for Brazil on its journey for decarbonization.
Well, Brazil, as I said, is at a very comfortable level in terms of the accounts it has to provide for the whole balance of emissions and the use of renewable sources. We are much ahead of most of the nations and certainly much more ahead regarding economies the size of Brazil. But that doesn't imply that we don't have to do efforts as a company and as a country. On the contrary, when I said about comfort, I say also in another level, I would like to see energy transition not only being affordable, reach people that really need, but also give them benefits, not only costing more. Yeah. And I'll give you an example, for instance. Electrification of vehicles, of fleets, as most of people would agree, is closest to transportation, to public transportation than anywhere. I mean, at least in a larger scale. Well, electrification of fleets should result into midterm scenario into public transportation to be free, a free service in most of nations. Just like hospitals or schools, public schools are in most of the countries. This is effect of transition into people real. To get the reach that we need in Brazil, happily enough, we had governments in sequence that took care of the reach of the whole territory. But we still have a lot of energy poverty. And energy poverty is something that goes along with the discussion of energy transition. This is not something about air-conditioned environments with carpets and nice cars and stuff. This is about our real world, which is still out there in Africa, in Asia, in South America, and now in the US and in Europe. So we cannot invent something else to make this world more unequal than it is right now. We already have the tendency that is there. And when we talk about energy policy and regulation, all that, these have to help this process because these are our national states exercising their sovereignty, not to make wars, not to make conflicts, but to make rules that make sense. And this is why we have to meet, we have to talk, we have to have OGCI initiatives like that where we unite 12 major companies in the oil business that are willing to do transition, each one at its rhythm, at its way, but we can do a lot of things, but again, with responsibility. It cannot be another fuss, another fashionable item, just like the bug of the millennium or something like that. It has to be something that has to be incorporated into our lives as managers, as directors, as people, and as consumers. And in order to do that, we have to understand the side of each one. That's my general view. Again, this is a generic statement, of course, I know, but this is how we should start discussing this from top to bottom.
So, Jean-Paul, that's a really good segue into kind of the next thing on my mind. And that has to do with the transition of companies and businesses themselves, right? So we often talk about energy transition, and I think conceptually we all get it, where we are trying to get to. And there's plenty of research, including a lot produced by S&P Global Commodity Insights, which says that by 2050, traditional oil and gas will still be a big part of the energy mix. That's just reality. But there will be a lot of the growth which will come from new sources of energy, renewables, et cetera. So somewhere along there is a transformation, a transition for large energy companies such as Petrobras. So I'm sure everyone will be very curious to know more about how are you thinking about that transition? What does that mean for Petrobras? What does that mean for the company and the energy sector?
I think we believe that first, to be objective into that, we should mitigate transportation of energy at long distances, for instance. This is one simple measure that for a big country like Brazil, and I'm sure for Malaysia as well, with all the difficulties, Australia, same profile of countries here, the logistics difficulties, and much more emphasis on the local energy. Whatever it is, whatever shakes in the wind, will have to generate energy for people. If you can be self-sufficient individually, let's try it. At a household level, okay. City level, state level, whatever level. Oil will be replaced by local energy. There's not going to be one single panacea. So in the case of Brazil, this is what we are seeing as a tendency, as a country. And as a company, as I said, our strategy, which is pretty obvious, is do what we know to do. We cannot go right now into paths that we don't know. We don't know how to, let's say, manufacture batteries. We will do something like this with time. But right now, what we do is okay, we need to operate offshore, as I said. Okay, let's try to do it with wind. We know how to operate gas. We go for hydrogen. We are our own off-taker of hydrogen if we want to produce green hydrogen. So we have good starts. We use hydrogen in our refineries big time. And our refineries can be also transformed with patents that we developed, but other companies also that did, into something that can process into liquid energy. We will always need liquid energy. There's no way out of this. We're going to have electrification of most of things, but you know all the several examples. We will always need liquid energy, and we will be there to provide this liquid energy as well. So I think this is our role as big company. But in general, local energy will be the key thing.
And Jean-Paul, maybe I'll come to you with the same question as well. Could you talk about how Petrobras is strategically securing and deploying capital to fund the transition?
Yeah. About financial resilience, I think Meg took it all. We're all concerned about that, so I'll go beyond that, okay? What is the difference between our companies and especially Petrobras and other companies into the energy transition? We provide less risk. I have to be blunt about that. If you take out of the room the preconceived idea that, oh, these are old guys from old industry, oil industry, these are dinosaurs, etc. If you take that out and you consider seriously, as we are doing, that we are moving in a responsible way into the right direction, and you look at us, you will see, okay, these guys have, like I just mentioned, this guy is the off-taker of himself in hydrogen. What is the price of hydrogen today? What is the price of green hydrogen today? Nobody knows. Nobody seems to care, and everybody's talking about this. Oh, there's a price, a historic price of a purchase that was done in Germany, et cetera, et cetera. Soon we will have one, but somebody has to start. And we are ready, and we have the conditions to give to these new businesses structure and scale enough with a lot of security. So whoever is with us, and shareholders like this very much, we have structure, we have scale, we have research centers, we have technical people, we have the size, we have presence in different countries, in different operational environments. Who is in a better condition to do large-scale energy transition than oil and gas? Nowadays called oil and gas companies. Nobody. Nobody. So I think this is bluntly the best way I can put it. You are with us, you invest, okay, you can do your concessions, your restrictions, anyway, market will work on that. Market forces will work on that. But this is to me, it's very clear. Nobody is in a better condition to do energy transition and to promote energy transition rather than us. Because we have, as I said last year, we encompass something very serious. We, oil and gas companies in transition, we are not in transition. We are in transformation. We need to transform ourselves into something else. We will, within 30, 40 years, depending on the rhythm of each one, we will have other products, not the same people, but other projects. We will be responsible for most of the comfort that we have to provide for consumers, for governments. So we have a much more heavy duty than others. We're not changing an engine from solar energy to something else, or diesel energy to solar energy. We are changing, moving ourselves. This is a metamorphosis for us. So it's very serious. And because it's very serious, and because it puts our life endangered, shareholders know that we will take it very seriously and very responsible. So this is less risk, much less risk. And that talks a lot to money. Look, I go along with the same way, but I will be a little more emphatic in one thing. If this energy transition process gets away of the mere initial establishment that we need to reduce emissions, this is all what we are after, not anything else. Not less and not more than that. But if it becomes a war or a competition for imposing technologies or specific targets into countries that cannot achieve them, or to sell things, sell technology, sell methodology, this is going to be very bad. We're going to run into a serious crisis. This may be the last revenge of oil, but it will be really hard on humanity. If we do that, if we impose that kind of rhythm in a wrong way, with not responsibility to indigenous peoples, to vulnerable people, to energy poverty, if we don't take care of that, we will have serious consequences. And that's not going to be for our business. It's going to be for all of us. So I would like to finish by saying that we're not at all, and again emphasizing, I'm taking as granted that we are all here for energy transition, okay? We're not here to talk against it. All we want to do it is in the correct way, in the responsible way. This is the challenging part. The good thing is that, as I mentioned as well, we can benefit, we can give humanity much more comfortable by trying to figure out local sources of energy. It will, at the long term, I believe, and I have to be positive about that, influence into having less conflicts, less geopolitical wars, et cetera, because if you have at your arm's length most of your energy or what you need, it's less disputes, motivation, you know. But to get there, we really have to be responsible at this time. If we rush or if we do the things the wrong way, we will get a crisis that we will never forget.
I think you hinted on somewhere in there was the key phrase, which I think we didn't talk about explicitly today. Energy is not the enemy, emissions are the enemy. And exactly. I think we need pragmatic ways to solve for that, and the financing that helps us get there, and the strategic choices we made to get to net zero.